Hello, Chip GT here, and in this video we're going to be talking about all the things that you need to consider when you're looking at getting a PC and putting it into a fully functional cabinet. When I say fully functional, I mean it has DOF, it has lights, it has all the bells and whistles, the 3-monitor display, and everything that I have in my cabinet. So this is going to be a cabinet build PC, not a regular PC, not what are the minimum requirements. This is my recommendation for what you want to put into a cabinet. Without any further delay, let's coin in and push that start button. When you're looking at a PC for a cabinet, you need to understand that we're not going with the minimum requirements for the software anymore. Now you're looking more at what's recommended or something that's better than what's recommended. All right. With that said, the biggest piece of software that is out there that you can run in a cabinet is the Pinball Fx 2022 software, and that requires Windows 10 64-bit, an Intel Core i7 7700 or a Ryzen 5 1600, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and an NVIDIA 2060 RTX or an AMD RX 5600 XT. Now, with that said, Visual Pinball and Future Pinball with DOF and SSF and the lights and all the works, you can have Windows 8 to Windows 11. It really only requires an Intel i5 or an AMD equivalent. 16 gigabytes is okay, but 32 is better for smoother play, and an NVIDIA graphics card that is a 1080 or an AMD equivalent. Now, with that said, you need to understand a few things when it comes to the graphics card, and that is each iteration, each generation, so the 1000 series, the 2000 series, the 3000 series, and now the 4000 series, each one is progressively getting better by almost double. So if you're running something like a 1080, it's probably not going to perform very well in a cabinet mode. If you're running something like a 2000 series, you're going to be in the same situation, but it will be doable. It's going to be pushing that graphics processor to its highest limit to run and render all those programs and everything else that's running in the background. So Sid and I, when we were looking at doing our cabinets, we wanted something that would be a little more future-proofed. So I'm going to show you what we have currently, and then I'm going to talk about where I want to go with my next PC for the cabinet. Sid bought his PC for $1,300. It has an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 6-core, and it is air-cooled. His GPU is an AMD Radeon RX 5700, and it has 3 display ports, 1 HDMI port. He had 16 gigabytes of RAM and then quickly realized that having 32 really makes things run a little bit smoother, so he upgraded to 32. He's running Windows 11. He has Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 4. He has a 500 gigabyte SSD that's on the M.2 board, or it's on the M.2 drive, and a 4 terabyte hard drive. And then he has 2.1 audio or stereo audio. So that motherboard does not support having SSF. He would actually have to buy the little puck in the back. Now, my PC, I bought this one that I'm currently using to make these videos and run pinball last year for right around $2,000. It has an AMD Ryzen 7 5800. It has 8 cores. It is liquid cooled. My GPU is an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3060 Ti, which also has 3 display ports and 1 HDMI. Mine came included with 32 gigabytes of RAM, Windows 10, Wi-Fi 5, Bluetooth 5.2, and then I have a 1 terabyte SSD M.2, a 500 gigabyte SSD M.2, and a 1 terabyte hard drive with 7.1 audio surround sound built into the motherboard. What we realize is that when it comes to the processor, the more cores you have, the better it will run for you. And that is more of your loading times. You'll see a spike and then it'll like level back out. You need to have a little bit better processor for the initial kick up when you're starting up your pinball software, because there's all kinds of applications that are running in the background that you may not even be aware of. So you have the front end, you have DOF is running, you have the pinup popper running, you have the B2S server running, all your controllers will be getting primed and ready to go, all the extra peripherals, 3 monitors, and then the pinball software. So there's a lot that's going to be rendering all at once. So you will see a spike and then it'll level off. So having something that has more cores will make it so that your load times are greatly reduced. But the other piece of that is with the RAM, for what I use it for, I'm not really running Pinball Fx. I'm running the other 2 pieces of software, and they kind of hover right around 8 gigabytes. But again, there's a spike in play that each table is a little bit different. So I always recommend anywhere between 16 to 32. And when Sid was running his, he was like, man, it's just, it seems really choppy. And I said, well, try upgrading your RAM to 32. He got 32 gigabytes of the fastest RAM on the market, and he went from 16 gigabytes of some of the slower RAM on the market. So if you are going to run 16, make sure you have the fastest RAM speed. When it comes to the graphics card, you want to have something that can support 3 to 4 monitors all going operationally at the same time. And that really means that if you're going with an NVIDIA, something above the 2000 series, so something in the 3000 series or higher really would work best. And I'm going to show you why. Please note that I'm using screen capture software, microphones, cameras, and all kinds of other things that are operating in the background, which is causing my GPU to actually be at a higher. I have taken some screenshots of me doing this without OBS running, with the microphones off, the cameras off, and everything. So I do have accurate numbers for you so that you can kind of compare what I'm doing to the system that you might be looking at. So what we're going to do is, right now, this is idling. So I don't have any pinball software running. The only thing that's actually maybe running in the background right now is the pinup popper. But the CPU is hovering between 3 and 7%. And the memory is holding steady at 6.0 out of 32 gigabytes. The Wi-Fi is barely running. And then my GPU is at 73, 74% because I'm running all this extra stuff. Now, what you want to do is get your cabinet fully set up the way that you want it to be. And then you want to you just Control-Alt-Delete and you'll pull up Task Manager and then click on Performance. And what you want to do is you want to see how the software is affecting the system to see if this is actually a good system. So my system is a 1.5 years old. SID 480s is about 2.5 years old, but we get about the same performance because with the exception of the CPU and the GPUs are pretty much the same. They're a little bit in competition, and the CPUs are a little bit different. Mine's a little bit better than his. But what we want to pay attention to is the GPU, the memory, and the CPU when we're running things like the pinup popper software and running a table. So let's go ahead and we'll do that now. I'm going to run the front end. And you see that we kind of spiked up a little bit on the CPU. It's now at 22%. The GPU dropped down to 48. And the memory is at 6.6. So let's go ahead and we'll launch a table. Okay, the game is fully booted now. So without me playing, you see how we had a spike there in the CPU processing. That's why you want to have a little bit better processor, because it's running a whole bunch of things all at once, trying to, get the table up and running, and then it spikes back down and kind of levels out a little bit. But right now we're kind of hovering in between, 9 to 21% on the CPU. The memory jumped up to 8.5, and the GPU is at 49% right now. So I'm going to go ahead and play, and you can watch the stats on the side here as I play a real quick game. All right, so right there, the GPU is holding solid at 48 to 50, and the CPU was kind of fluctuating a little bit, but not too bad. The memory was holding fast at, 6.5. That was all under using the VPX software. Now I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to show you a table that is Future Pinball. Another GPU spike. It got up to about 42% there. Or sorry, not GPU. Another CPU spike there at about 42%. And the GPU is getting up to 47. And memory is about 7.2. And the table's still loading. It takes a minute to load this, so we'll just give it a few potatoes. Okay, the table is fully loaded. So we had a few spikes. It's leveling out about 15% on the CPU. Memory is right at 7.6, so Future Pinball uses a little bit more memory. And then the GPU is hovering between 45, 46. So I'm going to go ahead and play a quick round, and we'll see how this does. All right, so for that, we had a GPU or CPU was up to about 20% usage. The memory was right around 8. The GPU had several spikes, but it seemed to level out right around 46, 48. For Pinball FX3 and Pinball FX, you're going to need more memory. For the cabinet mode, you're going to need a beefier GPU. This is why I'm saying that yes, you can run it with a 2000 series graphics card. Yes, you can run it at a 16 gigabyte memory, but in order to really utilize some of the stuff in the future, you want to have 32 gigabytes of memory. You want to have a 3000 series or higher GPU, and for the CPU, you want to have more cores. More cores equals more processing for all the things that are going on in the background. That's why I say try to get an i5 for VPX and Future Pinball. But if you're looking at running Pinball FX or the new version of Pinball FX 2022, you're going to really need something. It's really recommended that you go to an i7, something with more core processing. I've done a little bit of shopping online, and I've checked out Micro Center, which is a great place to go if you're looking at getting a PC, Newegg, and I've also looked on Amazon. So I'm only looking at 3 of the primary, like big, well-known PC companies. You don't have to stick with these. I'm just letting you know that I'm looking for something with an Intel i7. I'm looking for 32 gigabytes of RAM, and I'm looking for a 3000 series graphics card or higher. The Wi-Fi, the Bluetooth, and all that, those are all just perks. I'm just looking for the 3 big things. And what I found is Micro Center has this Asus Republica Gaming Strix, and this one has a Ryzen 5. So this is a little bit better, a little bit newer version of what SID has as far as the processor goes. It's same, processing there. The NVIDIA is a little bit better than what SID has. Then it has 32 gigabytes of RAM, and then the storage on this one would be like 2 terabytes combined. And then there's some extra bonus features here. Now they're selling this for a little over $1,000, but I also noticed that they have some open box returns for right around $776, so I could get that here. However, Newegg has something very similar. This is an HP, and very similar Intel i7, 32 gigabytes, 1 terabyte hard drive, and then a NVIDIA GeForce 3060 Ti, which is currently what I have in this computer. The only thing is it's got Windows 11. I'm not a fan of Windows 11, but I'm biased towards Windows 10. And then on Amazon, I found this one. This is another Asus Republic of Gaming setup. This is a 8-core Ryzen 7. So the thing to watch out for with the Ryzen 7s, especially this particular one, they run hot. So cooling for this might be an issue. However, the GeForce 3060 is a little bit better than what I have right now. I have the Ti version. The 3060 is a little more full-blown. This one has 32 gigs of RAM and 1 terabyte SSD and 1 terabyte HDD. So this one is also very similar to all three, and if you notice, like, Amazon wants 749. Now I also like looking at, you know, some of their screenshots to look at all the different ports and everything. So this one is not liquid cooled, it's fan cooled, which is fine. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go look at this one at Micro Center, and I'm going to see if I'm going to do a couple of benchmark tests on it to see how it performs and why these may have been returned, because they actually have them on a table for you to look at. So I'm gonna go into the store and check these out, and I will let you guys know what I think in the next video. So if you learned something from this, please give me a like, please subscribe, share it with the friends. It really does help the channel grow. Thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you in the next one.